Welcome to r/IDontWorkHereLady, where we share stories about folks that are mistaken for employees by irate customers. If you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our awesome community. And now, without wasting any more time, let's dive right in. The first story is gonna be XXL in size and is titled,
"Don't you know who we are?"
This happened more than a decade ago. Names have been redacted or altered to maintain anonymity. Please forgive formatting on mobile. I had already switched from chef work to sommelier work, having left my first big sommelier job to take over as head sommelier / executive manager of a restaurant group. The city I lived in was the capital, lots of embassies and lots of politicians, so the high-end restaurants would often get large parties of politicians and ambassadors. Because of this sort of clientele, we had very high-end wine lists at all our restaurants, but not all of them were super expensive food-wise, and our house wine was very affordable and also had lots of good wine by the glass. This made some of our locations very popular as a lunch spot for servers who worked in the area. One cloudy day, I was sitting in a corner banquette just doing paperwork, enjoying some moussaka roll-ups. The server on duty was pretty busy. She was new and didn't know me. I knew her though. She was doing alright, serving everyone without too much problem. No one was waiting more than a few minutes to get attention. There was also a server from the restaurant across the street, not part of my group, but a regular, sitting and having a glass of house wine as she was organizing her tips from her shift. She looked like a server in blacks with a black short apron. Similar uniform to what was worn in our restaurant. In walks a bunch of people, group of 6, I recognize one of them as an ambassador's aide. Did not recognize the others, 4 guys and 2 women, one of whom had the classic Karen hairdo. They don't wait at the front where the sign says to wait to be seated, they walk right into the dining room, push 2 tables together and grab extra chairs. They are sitting sprawling, taking up lots of room in the middle of the dining room, talking loudly about how
"This place has a great wine list."
One of them says he's gonna order. They have now been in the restaurant for less than 2 minutes total. The server on duty cannot see them from the corner where they do their side duties. She had been in the back serving the VIP room. At this point, the group are already starting to complain that they have not been served yet, which is when they notice the server from the other restaurant who's just enjoying her glass of wine. Ambassador's aide, substantially louder than it needed to be.
"Hey you cannot drink on the job. Why haven't you taken our order yet?"
Karen, not at all under her breath.
"I cannot believe how unprofessional that girl is."
Then to the girl.
"We will have you fired for this. Do you know who we are?"
Ambassador's aide.
"This is an outrage."
Not our server girl. I'm sorry, I don't work here. I work at a different restaurant. I'm sure a server will be here to take your order soon." Karen.
"Don't you give us that bullcrap, you lazy good for nothing."
Incoherent mumbles. At this point, I'm already not liking where this is going, but I decide to wait a minute to see how the new server handles it. She has arrived with her customer service smile plastered across her face. Actual server. "Pardon me, I'm Mandy and will be your server for the day. Can I take your order?" Karen.
"Finally, we've been waiting here for 20 minutes.
Maybe 3 tops.
With no service. And your colleague here did not even get up to greet us. She's just getting drunk. You cannot drink on the clock."
Directed with malice at the innocent server girl from another restaurant.
"You need to fire her right now. I demand to speak to your manager. Do you even know who I am? I work for the"
redacted
"consulate. I could have both your jobs for this."
It was at this point I finally recognized the lady. She was a receptionist for the consulate where she worked, and I had seen her a year and a bit prior when she came with a large group for their office Christmas party. I could have stepped in at this point, but I was curious how the new server, Mandy, would handle this. Mandy, in an apologetic tone, "I'm so sorry, but I didn't see you arrive. Normally people wait to be seated as the sign asks, so I couldn't see you all sitting here. Please don't badger our guests though. That lady doesn't work here and is a paying customer. I believe she works at another restaurant down the street." Karen cuts her off.
"Don't you dare lie to me, you little girl. I eat liars like you for breakfast."
The rest of the 6 are egging Karen at this point, and I can see this may be escalating beyond what the server can handle. So I text the owner's son, who lives upstairs. He's also a part owner in the group and sometimes does the managing of this location. Happens to also be a bodybuilder and is huge. Less than 30 seconds later, I get a BRT text from the owner's son. Karen yelling in a shrill, indignant voice,
"Where's your manager? Get him now. You cannot treat us like this. We are important people."
Mandy was starting to look like she was going to cry at this point, and the not our server is shrinking back into the banquet as both of them were being yelled at incoherently by this group of 6 rude flunkies. At this point, the assistant floor manager has arrived due to the screeching, but the 6 insane screechers are just ignoring her. I stand, take a couple steps toward them, take a deep breath, and at the top of my lungs shout, "Quiet now!" I was an actor in high school and know how to project, so my voice fills the room. Everyone stops their shouting and turns to me. Me at a more reasonable voice level. "Okay, so here's what's going to happen. None of you need to speak to a manager. What you need to do is grab your stuff and get out. I won't have you shouting at my server or my guests. No one deserves to be talked to the way you have been. And before you indignantly ask me if I know who you are, I do. I know exactly who you are. And I know your boss and your boss's boss, both of whom love eating here and would be appalled at your behavior." At this point, I notice Matthew, the owner's son, has just come in through the kitchen door, dressed in his gym gear, glistening with sweat like some sort of Greek statue of Heracles, 6 feet 4 and nearly 300 pounds of muscle. The look on his face just screams, "I just got here and I'm already completely done with this." I can see Karen is about to protest, but I hold up my hand, and in my no-nonsense commanding voice, "No, this is not a discussion. Get up and go now." Karen, in an injured, indignant tone,
"Well, I never."
Me, matter-of-factly, "And you will never again. You can consider yourselves banned from this establishment." Matthew, owner's son / part owner, rather louder than he really needed to be, "Get out of my restaurant and don't even think of coming back. You're all going on the blacklist." Matthew's colossal form starts moving towards them, and it seems the look on his face was enough to end any further discussion as the group grab their things and rush out of the restaurant. I thank Matt for coming down and interrupting his workout for the assist. The manager combs the not our server's meal and wine for her marred experience. Our server is told she did nothing wrong, that it's okay, she's not in any danger of being fired, and in fact handled it about as well as she could have. She's given the rest of the day off with pay. The group each have a headshot pulled from security cams and are added to our digital blacklist, but it does not end there. I call the consulate and talk with the ambassador, who is appalled by the behavior of his staff, all of whom arrived back at the consulate that day to find they had been fired for attempting to use their job to bully others. He comes in personally the next week to apologize to our server, manager and the owner's son in person and assure us that the group no longer work at the consulate. Moral of the story: never use your position of perceived power to bully others. You may well end up losing that position. And a very interesting response in the comments: I was talking to a city cop once and this sort of thing came up. He said whenever someone would get all huffy and demand, "Do you know who I am?" he would immediately get on his radio and say, "This is gonna be a psychiatric case. Subject doesn't know who he is." Have you guys ever dealt with a situation like that before? Or have you ever seen someone getting banned from a restaurant? If you did, please tell us in the comments, I'm curious. Jerk wants my mom fired at a store she does not work at, while my mother refuses to be fired. So there's a store in town where the employees wear plain black paints and plain red shirts. Wondering if he meant pants, because I don't know what paints are in terms of clothing. Anyway, my mother was there with my father and she was wearing plain black pants and was wearing a red and white shirt. Of course, we all know that entitled people are not smart enough to realize that the shirt she was wearing was not the same shirt that the employees were wearing. Both of my parents told me what happened and I got a pretty clear picture of what happened. Not too clear on dialogue though, so I will just give a rundown on what I was told. While my parents were looking at cleaning products, our EP walks up to them. He demands attention from them because he cannot find the aisle with canned meat, even though he would have to go right past it to get to the cleaning aisle. Dad tries to talk to him, but the EP was
talking to the employees, not some wetbag.
Mom stepped in quickly and realized he was talking to her about the meat. She tells him she doesn't work there and then tells him what aisle he was in. She was trying to keep Dad from going at the guy. The EP just walked away and went to that aisle. They got what they needed, but they encountered the EP. Dad said that he called Mom something nasty, though wouldn't say what he called her. The EP accused my mom of lying to him because he looked all over that aisle and did not see any canned meat. He demanded my mom, using that nasty name again, to show him where it was at. My mom said in her calm but angry tone that she does not work there. Even if she did, she would not respond to a completely rude man like him, and that if she had worked there, she would find a way to ban him from the store. An employee that was in that aisle suddenly found his arm being pulled towards the EP. The EP got nose to this poor guy and told him to get whoever was in charge there. He had a complaint. Then he all but threw the guy back. Dad was able to catch the guy before he fell over. Mom started scolding the EP for almost hurting that young man, and I was not told how he replied. After a few minutes, the district manager came in, learned the story, and asked the EP to stand aside while he talks to this employee about her attitude. The EP wanted her fired and out of there right now, accused my mom of calling him something nasty and refusing to help him. So the DM took my mother aside and told her that he's going to pretend to fire her so the jerk can leave. This is the only part where there is dialogue based on what I was told. My mom: wait, are you saying you're going to bow to his wishes? DM: well, if it keeps the peace, yes. If he keeps complaining, he's just going to cause trouble, so I'm going to fire you. Mom: oh no, you're not. You are not giving in to his demands. You are not going to fire me, because he will go around thinking he can get anyone who works here or anywhere else fired. DM: oh, he comes in here a lot and always causes this kind of mess with customers, so it's just easier. Mom cutting him off again: if he comes in here a lot and does this every time, then he's a problem. He's always causing trouble, so you deal with him, not go with the easy fix. DM: but you don't work. Mom cutting him off a third time: doesn't matter if I do or not. He threatened me with such disrespect, called my husband a wetbag, nearly hurt one of your own employees, and you're going to feed into that ego of his because it's easier? What happens if he gets pissed off at a real employee? Are you going to throw that innocent person under the bus because it's easier? DM: well. Mom, a fourth cut: how would your corporate officers feel about you letting a man who constantly harasses employees and customers into their store? Think they will take your side on this, that you are costing them customers? Do you think they will like it if they find out how you allow the mistreatment of your staff? That you would fire an employee without probable cause and create lawsuits? My dad told me how the DM did not say anything because he knew he would be cut off again. Mom, that man is creating a hostile work environment and you are helping him. Either do something about him or I will call corporate and have them talk to you about it. So the DM is trying to save his own ass, goes to the EP and tells him to leave the store. The EP threw a fit and tried to throw a punch, but the DM easily ducked and warned him to leave. The EP did so, cursing the entire time. The DM apologized, promised that he will do what he can to have that man banned even for a little while. When my folks paid for their stuff, they saw the EP hanging around in the parking lot waiting for them. They told an employee who talked to a security guard, who then went outside and pretty much kept the EP distracted while my folks rushed to the truck and threw their stuff in. They hoped they were not seen as they left, and my mom was so angry her face was completely red when she got home. She just took a shower and is trying to calm down. Dad and I put the groceries away, but Dad told me that he will take me to the other store across town tomorrow if I wanted to go shopping tomorrow. We both did not want to chance seeing that EP. I actually really loved how that mother protected the staff. And honestly, that damn manager needs to grow a spine, and maybe a pair. Were you guys ever in the situation where you could stand up for an employee because he did a good job and was unfairly treated by someone else? I personally can only think of a situation in a restaurant where the waiter was super nice, however, then unfortunately spilled water over my jeans and the boss really talked bad to her. I told him it was no problem and that she should go easy on the waitress because she did a great job. But anyway, let's continue. And before we get to the third XXL story, I would be very happy if you could take 5 seconds to give me some stars in the comments and like the video to support me. Thank you very much. The story is titled, "A single digit makes all the difference." For those who remember my previous posts, I am in the military. I've been stationed in quite a few different places around the US and the world. Because of that, I have a cell phone number that is out of area and use it for just about everything. Between that and the occasional work-issued phone, I've never felt the need to have a dedicated landline. However, with my most recent residence, the company I get my internet and cable through had a plan set up where every service came individually, or you could get a bundled box that had cable, internet and phone. However, there was no cable/internet only option. Since the phone included bundle was cheaper than a la carte, I said hell with it, might as well. I even went ahead and got a cheapo phone and plugged it in. That was my first mistake. Apparently, this phone number was one number different from a local Domino's pizza place. Fortunately, I did not have the "company put my number on the commercial instead of their own" problem we often see here, but I did have one person who managed to call me a few times, yes, more than once, instead of calling the pizza place. I can only guess that she had tried to program it into a contact entry and only ever went back to the contact each time rather than dialing it outright. The first time the phone rang, I of course picked it up, curious as to who would be trying to call me on a number I had not actually given to anyone. That was my second mistake. The conversation should have been simple. "Sorry, you have the wrong number. Oh, my bad." Click. Were it so easy? Given that I'm here now posting this story, we all know that's not what happened. Call 1. Me. Hello? Karen.
That's no way to answer the phone for a restaurant. You should identify yourself and your company when you pick up.
Me? But this is not a restaurant. This is my home line. Karen.
Don't lie to me. Now take my order. It's...
Click. I hung up. Immediately she called back. Call number 2. Me. Hello? Karen.
Still with this? What's wrong with you?
Me. Oh, really now? She opened the door of effery, so I'm more than happy to walk through it. Mentally cracking my thought knuckles, I engaged my finer, fiery side. Affecting a heavy twang, I said, "Hank's Roadkill Cafe. You kill it, we grill it. This is Hank Jr. speaking. How may I help you?" Karen, a few seconds of silence, then,
"What on earth are you talking about? I just want to order some pizza."
Me. "That's gonna be a bit of an issue, hun. Seeing as how there ain't no pizzas running across the road for you to hit. How we gonna grill up a dead pizza when there ain't no such thing?" Karen.
"This is extremely unprofessional. Let me speak to your manager."
Me. "Hank! Hey, Hank! Get your ass over here!" Then I hung up, thinking that would be the end of it. Surely no one would think that that performance was a valid phone number for a pizza place. That was my third mistake. About 5 minutes later, she called back, recognizing the number. I geared up for effery round 2. Call number 3. Me. "Alfredo's Pizza Cafe. This is Mike. How may I help you?" Karen.
"Wait, I thought this was Domino's."
Me. "No, this is the location used to be a Domino's, but it was bought by Alfredo. Our prices are a bit more expensive, but what would you rather have? A medium amount of good pizza or all you can eat of pretty good pizza? What can I say? I'm a die-hard The Office fan." Karen.
"I'll tell you what I want to order. Stop trying to upsell me on things I don't need."
She proceeded to launch into a rather lengthy delivery order with more than a few details, none of which I wrote down as I gave "uh-huh" and "gotcha" throughout. Me. "Okay, I've rung it all up, and fortunately for you, we are running a special. Half off for any order up to 8 pizzas. The total comes out to $63. Karen.
"What? That's so much more expensive than Domino's would charge, and that's half off?"
Me. "Yes, ma'am, but it's the best pizza in the city, according to the Scranton Times." Karen.
"Whatever, just get it here ASAP."
She yelled her address at me, then hung up without even letting me try to confirm. 2 hours later, the number pops up on the phone. I mentally prepared myself for yet another round in the ring with this mental lightweight. Call number 4, me, Alfredo's Pizza Cafe. This is Karen, sounding more like a banshee crossed with a diesel engine, as she was clearly a lifelong smoker, doing her best to yell.
Where's my pizza?
Me, oh dear, I'm sorry. Our delivery driver was not able to make it to you. While he was out on the run, delivering an order at another address, he was held hostage by a strange group of people in the small business park who were having an after-hours office party. By the time he was let out and got back to his car, your pizza was cold and he was terribly traumatized, so we gave him the rest of the night off. Also, this was never a restaurant number, like I said from the very start.
Karen, what do you mean this is not a restaurant? You said you were and took my order.
Me? Yeah, about that, I lied. I crackled with fake maniacal laughter, which only served to enrage her more. Karen, incomprehensible nonsense punctuated by the word manager at least a couple times. Me, lady, listen, this is not a pizza place, it's a home number, and I'm done with you. I hung up and disconnected the phone from the box. The cable system would pop up a notice anytime someone called the line if you were watching TV with the number that was calling, and I got at least a dozen more calls from her that night, plus 2 more the following night. After that, it stopped. Fast forward 2 weeks, my wife and I were in the mood for some pizza, so I suggested picking up from that Domino's. In the intervening weeks, I had done some searching online and found the Domino's with the 1 number difference that was the partial cause of that fun-filled evening, and it seemed like as good a candidate as any to get our dinner for the night. I called the order in as I left work and stopped by to pick it up on my way home. As I was at the register waiting for it to finish in the oven, I recounted the story of what had happened to the cashier. She was floored. The look on her face was priceless. She explained to me that Karen had come into their location like a bat out of hell, looking to cause all sorts of trouble, thinking they were the ones who had done this to her. She refused to listen to anyone explain that they had no idea what she was talking about, not even the manager, and eventually had to be removed from the location by cops and was served with a trespass order. Fortunately, I have not received any subsequent calls from Karen. All told, it was well worth the time I spent on the phone with her. And to finish it off, an interesting little story from the comments. Back in the days, when people used printed telephone directories, there was a pizza place whose phone number started with the same 3 digits as my home phone. Another location of the same chain was printed directly below it, and this one ended with the same 4 digits as my home phone. So you pick up the phone book, find the pizza place, read the number, dial the first part, look back for the second part, dial that, and there's a pretty good chance that your finger pointing at the number has moved slightly and you get me. I got far more calls for pizza than I ever did for me, and some of them late at night, long after both places were closed, but I never got a Karen. How many times do you guys get calls from people by accident who dialed the wrong number? I gotta say, in the past it happened way more frequently than nowadays, but it still happens occasionally. Anyway, tell us in the comments. Either way, unfortunately, that's the last story for today. If you enjoyed my content, please leave me a like, as that would help me tremendously with that damn YouTube algorithm. And I hope you have a fantastic day, and I see you again tomorrow.